Hello my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Kaylee, this is the Tea House, and this is my kitchen. This week I'm going to be focusing on making our family meals, but doubling them so that I have one that can go in the freezer and one that we can eat for dinner that evening. I have an entire list that my husband and I made of freezer meals that we want to hopefully get into the freezer prior to baby boy's arrival in about a month and a half. And so I'm definitely working on getting that completed so that it can ease my mind and we can make sure that we have good home-cooked meals ready to just reheat when we are going through that newborn stage. So let me pan you over to our whiteboard, which is where I organize all of the meals that we are having for the week, and show you where we are doubling some of those recipes and putting the doubled portions into the freezer for later. So this is our family organization whiteboard. So up here in this first quadrant is the meals that I'm making for the week. Obviously this is more than 7 meals. This is just the remainder of meals that I had on my list for October. It is the end of October, so these will move into the beginning of November. But this is what we are going to be doing. And then where I have said, like for taco salad, I'll make double the meat and I'll freeze half of it. Baked ziti, I'm gonna make double baked ziti and then I'm gonna freeze one. Tomato soup, I'm gonna double the soup. And then chicken pot pie, which is today. My chicken pot pie recipe makes 3 pie pans, so I'm going to just freeze the extra pie pans. Up here in the top right hand corner, that is my running grocery list. So at Costco, we ordered some sheets, we purchased some sheets that we just did not like, so we need to return those. And then I need 32 ounces of ricotta cheese, which we weren't able to find. We actually went to the grocery store yesterday. So that's just kind of I need to get that before I make ziti tomorrow. Down here, this is my to-do list for today and tomorrow. So today, by plan, and if I can get this all done, great. If not, it just moves to the next day. So we're gonna make chicken pot pie. That's dinner for tonight. Marinara sauce, which is the first thing on the list today. Peppers and onions, I'm gonna chop for the chicken fajitas, which is the third thing down here. I need to make rice for our dog. He is having some tummy issues. I ordered a ton of cheese that I need to freeze and shred. I got that ordered in bulk from Azure Standard. And we are out of yogurt, so I need to start another batch of yogurt, but that's not until this evening. And if that gets bumped, it's totally fine to do here. And then on Mondays, which tomorrow is a Monday, I like to do a large batch of something so that my husband can take the remainder to work for leftovers. So we're having ziti and I'm making pizza kits, which is why I need this cheese shredded. So anything that I don't get done in that top portion, I just move to the next portion and then continue on down the day. The rest of these are like to-do list, various other items that we just don't want to forget about. And then down here is my running Azure Standard order. So in the Azure order, I mentioned that we didn't get bulk apples. Sesame seeds were out of stock and peanut butter was out of stock. And then I also noticed that I need a little bit more sugar to tide us over for the holidays. So this is how we organize our life here at our house. If you like this idea, we have just put this up with like command strips, and it is right in the kind of the outside hallway of our kitchen. So really easy to access. And then when we've made something, we simply just cross it off. So we are back on the cooking side of the kitchen. I have a heavy bottom stock pot here. This is where I'm going to make my double batch of marinara sauce, and I'm not saving any of that. I am putting all of it into the freezer for freezer meals. Later this week, or possibly next week, I'll also be making 3 dozen meatballs to go along with this marinara sauce. So first things first, this recipe has been in my family for, this is the only marinara sauce we grew up with. So a basic recipe, 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, 11 ounces of tomato puree, 8 ounces of tomato sauce, a medium onion chopped, a clove of garlic, salt, sugar, pepper, basil, and oregano. That's it. I used to put red pepper flakes, but now having a 2-year-old, I don't want it to be too hot. You are definitely able to switch this recipe as you wish. I typically make a double batch and freeze anything because it freezes so well and thaws perfectly. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is chop 2 onions, again, a double batch. I'm going to save a couple of those onions, maybe half of the onion, for the chicken pot pie that I'm going to be making after I make this or put this sauce together. But beyond that, all 2 onions are going to go in this pot. The only thing that I currently have in here is a good drizzle of olive oil. We have 1.5 onions, it's a large onion, and probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. I'm going to turn this on to medium, and I'm going to add 2 big tablespoons of garlic. And it is important to add salt now so that the onions are able to sweat and release their water content, release their juices. The rest of the spices I will be adding once the onions are done. While the onions and garlic are cooking, I'm going to do 2 things. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run out to the garage, which is where we store our rice, and grab a couple cups of rice, get that in the Instant Pot, and get that started to cook for the dog for his dietary needs. Second, I'm going to take out my food processor, and I'm going to shred these and then bag them in some freezer bags that we got with our Food Saver. I'm not entirely sure how many bags I'm going to get, but I'm going to fill as many as I possibly can. Actually, before I start on the cheese, I just got it opened. I'm going to add our spices to our onions and garlic because they are just about softened. And then shortly after that, once the spices bloom, I am going to add our tomato products. So to this, and I'm not great at measuring, move the cheese there so it doesn't fall over. So it says 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is an optional ingredient. It cuts the acidity of store-bought tomatoes, but if you're using like fresh canned tomatoes, this is probably not a necessary ingredient. So, because I'm making a double batch, it was 2 tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of pepper. I will probably be adding more. than a tablespoon of pepper. My husband loves pepper. A little bit more salt. This says a teaspoon of salt. I probably added about a teaspoon to 2 earlier when I initially added the onions. Yeah, we're getting some nice color on the bottom of this can. For oregano, it says 1/4 of a teaspoon, so that's going to be 1/2 of a teaspoon. I like oregano, so it's going to be more than that. And basil, so it says 2 tablespoons. This is for one batch. 2 tablespoons of basil. That's about what's in here. Don't worry, I have more. Somewhere. There we go. All right. So there is that. We're going to give this a quick stir. And when you start to smell the spices, it means that you can add the tomatoes. So the majority of spices are fat soluble, which means that they need to bloom in order to have their flavors released completely, which is why I put them in at this step instead of after I've added the tomato products, because the tomato products don't have any added fat like the onions and garlic in the olive oil do. Now to add my tomato products. So I have 2 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. I'm going to stir this around and try to get all of the brown bits on the bottom before I add the rest of the tomato products. There we go. So the second can of crushed tomatoes. The can of tomato puree. So my recipe calls for 11 ounces for one recipe, which they do make an 11-ounce can of tomato puree. They also make a 28-ounce can of tomato puree, and it's only an additional 6 ounces. It's not going to mess with the texture or the taste of this sauce, and it was significantly cheaper to buy it in the larger quantity and just buy one pan or one can. And last but not least, a 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. This is double what is needed. For a single batch, you need an 8-ounce can. This is done. I'm going to simmer this on low for probably the majority of the day. It is 10 o'clock in the morning right now, so I will have plenty of time to do this. Now on to the cheese. For the cheese, I have the Parmesan cheese that I got from Measure Standard opened, and I have these pre-cut food saver bags. I have 5 of these, so I'm going to see how much cheese fits in here, get this sealed, and then see if I need additional storage bags. So I got 4 bags of 3 cups of cheese each. The remainder of this bag I'm actually just going to put in a standard Ziploc bag and put in the refrigerator because I currently don't have any Parmesan cheese that I can use that is available in the refrigerator. I am back, cleaned up the kitchen a little bit. I took the rice out of the Instapot because that was done, cleaned up the cans that I had used for the tomato sauce. And I have also opened up the mozzarella cheese and cut it into small pieces, as well as set up my Cuisinart to shred these. The first thing that I'm going to measure out is 2 cups each, 4 bags of 2 cups each of mozzarella cheese. And this is going to be for the pizza packets that I'm going to be putting in the freezer tomorrow. It's just easier for me to measure that out now so that I don't use a food saver bag and waste that for something that is going to be going into a Ziploc bag anyway. So that is step number 1. Step number 2 is any additional cheese that we have left, which hopefully I have more than 8 cups here. I am going to be putting into food saver bags, labeling, and getting put in the freezer. The smarter way to do this is to grate it and then just dump it into a bowl and bag from there. I have 4 bags of mozzarella cheese that I am just going to bag and, well, I have bagged and I'm going to just put in the refrigerator to put with the pizza dough that I am going to make tomorrow. The rest of this cheese I'm going to put in food saver bags, roughly measured. I was having a little bit of issue measuring it, so roughly measured and labeled and put in the freezer. I made some freezer bags. These are just the food saver bags that you can just make on from the roll. I do have a little helper here in the kitchen now, as well as a 4-legged helper down on the ground. So this, Mama. Yep, you're helping Mama. So this process is probably going to go a little slower now, but that is okay. I'm sure that I will speed it up for you.
Auntie, I'm helping Mama.
Yeah, you're helping Mama. I did go ahead and turn off the marinara sauce and just put it to the side. I'm going to let that cool all the way down, and then I will get that put into storage quart containers. And I left the food processor out because I'm going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing with the mozzarella as with the cheddar cheese. So here we go. One note that I wanted to make, so I've never frozen fresh grated mozzarella cheese, so, hey, don't touch that please. So when I took all of the air out, it kind of turned into a block. I'm still going to freeze this because it's totally fine, but I'm hoping that it's like reconstitutes back into shreds. So if you have a food saver, a great option is to just slightly take the air out. So like the majority of this air is out, and then just seal it. So that's what I did with the other 2 bags. So the cheddar cheese is shredded, bagged, and vacuum sealed. I did not film that part because I had a bit of a grumpy toddler, so didn't want to put you all through that. I got 32 cups of cheese. Each of these has about 8 cups of cheddar in there. So this is all of my cheese that will be going into the freezer. I am going to be grabbing some freezer containers for the marinara sauce next. I have about 40 minutes until it is time for her to go take a nap. So hopefully I can get the marinara sauce in the containers so that it can start to cool, and then I can get everything started to get transferred to the freezer. So we didn't make it to our normal nap time. We're actually about to go upstairs, but I wanted to show you what we have gotten done so far this morning. These still need to cool, but I have 3 quarts and 1 pint of marinara sauce that will be going into the freezer. I have grated Parmesan cheese, shredded mozzarella cheese, and shredded cheddar all ready to go into the freezer. So according to our list, we are well on our way to having a very productive day. Marinara sauce is done, rice for the dog is done, and freeze and shred cheese is done. I still plan on prepping the peppers and onions, but that may not actually happen today. I don't need any of those items for the pot pie, so I'll probably move that down to where the ziti is. And the plan is to still start yogurt tonight, but I'm not certain that I have enough room in the fridge for it to cool tomorrow, so I will have to investigate that. Hello again, welcome back to the kitchen. It is now 4 p.m. and we have done a lot today. My toddler definitely needed a nap and she didn't take a long one, so we took a little break from cooking, and now the only thing that we have to do is make chicken pot pie for this evening. In this skillet, which is hot, I have onions and garlic and a little bit of olive oil. I'm just going to get those sauteed. Some items that we have over here. Yes, my love. Hi. Some items that we have over here. This is everything else that we need to make this dish. We have a full rotisserie chicken from Costco. I deboned this and got it into the refrigerator yesterday. It's just diced up into small pieces. I have a can of cream of mushroom soup. I typically add fresh chopped mushrooms to this, but I forgot to get those at the grocery store. So this is going to give us that good mushroom flavor. Some spices. I have some mushroom salt, garlic, granulated garlic, mushroom powder, paprika. I also need to grab some parsley and some chives. This is roughly 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese. And then we have chicken stock and whipping cream. So all this is going to go into the pan once the onions and garlic are softened. And then we are going to add frozen mixed vegetables, mix it all up, put it into a pie pan, top it with pre-made pie crust I just bought at the grocery store. You are welcome to make your own if you choose to, but I don't. And then bake it for the allotted time that the pie crust requires on said packaging. So let's get going. garlic have softened. So we're gonna add our cream of mushroom soup as well as the chicken broth, let that kind of loosen up. And then we are going to add our cream cheese. At this time, I'm also going to be adding all of my spices. So this is homemade mushroom salt. It's just dehydrated mushrooms mixed with some salt and a little bit of chili flakes. We have some granulated garlic, some onion powder, some paprika, some parsley. This is freshly dried from the garden. This past season. And dried chives. And we'll add our bouillon paste. That was only a cup of water, so we just need a teaspoon of bouillon. Next to go in is the cream cheese. Cream cheese is just about melted. We are going to add the remaining ingredients here. First, my sweet husband reminded me that we had some dehydrated mushrooms, so I got those rehydrated and cut up, and I'll be adding those. Next is our chopped up chicken. This is the little bit of mozzarella cheese from earlier that I shredded. And we're gonna add a cup of whipping cream. Also, because the mushrooms were dehydrated, I am gonna add a little bit more water because they are going to continue their rehydration process. So there's that water. We got this cheese from earlier. All of a rotisserie chicken. One cup of heavy whipping cream. Always make sure to shake it first. That's about half. This is a 2-cup container. And last but not least, the frozen vegetables. Once this comes up to temperature, I'm going to place the filling evenly between these 3 pie pans. You are going to be tempted to overfill these pie pans, and please do not. Learn from myself setting off the fire alarm not just once, but twice. It definitely gets nice and bubbly and a little more viscous in terms of consistency, so just keep that in mind. I am going to be freezing 2 of these and keeping 1 for dinner tonight. So I'm just following the recipe on the pie dough. It just says bake at 450 until nice and golden brown on top, which is roughly going to be 20 to 25 minutes. The other 2, I'm not going to put the pie dough on yet. I'm going to freeze completely just covered in foil. And then I'm going to freeze the pie dough by itself. Pie dough freezes just beautifully. And then when I get ready to cook it, I will thaw it in the refrigerator overnight. And then in the morning, I will just cook it as I would if I was making it fresh today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the rest of the recipes today. as well as the video of getting prepared for the newest addition to our family and how we are managing that. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to making more videos for you. If you feel so inclined, I would love for you to like or subscribe. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.